All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little Brock Purdy video. RG3 saying some nice things about Brock. We'll get into it next. First, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week. That's right, both spots from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. 8 p.m. or until they run out, and they do run out. Go say hi to Damon and Mary, get some brisket chili. Try some pulled pork. Tell them that Larry Krueger sent you. And we're also, of course, brought to you by Marin Auto Glass. And our sponsors this month are Sharp Corners Sports Cards and Collectibles. Give Anthony Catania a call at 831-521-5264. We're also brought to you by valleyhillroofing.net. They're at 209-481-6851. All the links are listed in the description in the video. All right. Thanks to all of our sponsors. But how about RG3? You know, Robert Griffin III played for Kyle Shanahan. And, you know, he's got his own podcast. I mean, everybody's got their own podcast these days. But he went on his podcast, and he said that Brock Purdy was the best quarterback in the NFL this year. And I'll say this, you know, I don't know that that is indeed the case, but I love that RG3 is saying that. You know, Purdy finished fourth in the MVP voting. And to me, my primary Super Bowl takeaway was that Brock Purdy can win a Super Bowl. The moment was definitely not too big for him. He shined, I thought, in that setting. I mean, he was unfazed. He made plays. He played very much the way he played all year long. It wasn't like that stage was too big or the moment was too big or the 49ers didn't win the game. But and he could have made a few more plays. But Brock Purdy, the moment wasn't too big for him. I think that was pretty clear. And RG3 kind of shared that. He said that Purdy is far more than a game manager. And let's hear, actually, why don't we do this? We'll let you hear what RG3 had to say, and then we'll talk about it. Here's RG3 on his podcast on Brock Purdy.
Had about Brock Purdy. And from a defensive perspective, I thought he played really well. Some of those passes in tight windows and what he was able to do. I know watching you throughout your career, dynamic player, could make anything happen at any moment. When you hear, and I know you've probably talked about it, the game manager versus the game changer, is there a difference of a guy that just runs the system as is versus a guy that can say, all right, this is a system, but that's the system and this is me. How I mesh them together is what makes me such a difference maker out there on the football field.
Yeah, so that is a whoopsie-doo of a question, my man. And that's why you're one of the best in the industry at what you do, because the bottom line for me is Brock Purdy, when you come away from that game, there's no way you come away from that game and you say, oh, yeah, he's just a game manager, right? Mahomes goes down the field at the end of regulation, kicks a field goal to tie to send it into overtime, I believe. Well, when Purdy gets it back, he takes them down. They kick a field goal to go in the lead. And then obviously Mahomes and them score a touchdown. Game's over. But there wasn't any moment in the game where you said to yourself, oh, this guy can't compete at this level. There wasn't any moment in the season in totality where you said, oh, Brock Purdy just can't get it done. Did he have a bad game against the Ravens? Yeah, he had a bad game against the Ravens. Did he have a couple other games where he was a little off in the middle of the year? Yeah, when they lost those 3 games in a row. But when I look at the way people break down Brock Purdy, I don't think it really has anything to do with Brock Purdy. I think it has more so to do with how they feel about themselves and how they wish they had that opportunity that he has been blessed with the weapons around him. But when we look at it, from a big picture standpoint, most quarterbacks have guys and they're surrounded with extreme talent when they win. It just so happens that because Brock Purdy is Mr. Irrelevant and was the last pick in the draft, people are very slow to accept the fact that he was the best quarterback in the NFL this year. And that's just by the numbers. I mean, you're talking about first in QBR, first in passer rating, first in touchdown percentage, first in EPA per play. You know, the list goes on and on of what Brock Purdy was able to accomplish. And it wasn't just the scheme. I've heard people say, he's always throwing to wide open people. Well, I think he was first in the NFL in tight window throws. So if he's always throwing to wide open people, why is he first in the NFL in tight window throws?
So true.
And that completion percentage. So when I come back to it at the end of the day, I look at Brock Purdy and I say the truth is Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the galaxy, head over heels. He's way more talented. He's, in my opinion, the second greatest quarterback in NFL history behind Tom Brady. And I don't think there's a discussion about that anymore. But for Brock Purdy, he's now put himself in a category of a guy that is so much better for the 49ers and so much better than Jimmy Garoppolo was. Because going to the Super Bowl, I don't know if you knew this, but Garoppolo threw for 208 yards in their 2 playoff games heading to the Super Bowl.
Raheem Mostert, boys.
Right? He had, I think, 1 touchdown and a pick, and Brock Purdy threw for 519 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick, and had 65 yards rushing. So it's like, there's a different level to this. I'm a big fan of what Brock Purdy has done. I played in that system. I know what it takes to play in that system. And I believe that what makes Brock a game, I just say he's a creator. Because this whole game manager, game changer thing isn't new, right? Our guy Cam, I got a lot of respect for Cam and his career. He's not the first person that's ever said that. Like they've been talking about this for generations, right? It's been forever. He brought it back up and now everyone's talking about it again. So I do think that Brock Purdy is a game changer. I do think that Brock Purdy is a creator because when I actually watch the tape and study him, I see how he's not just doing it with, hey, they schemed it open, throw it to the guy. He's manipulating the defense with his eyes. He's making plays with his feet inside and outside of the pocket. And to me, when I watch the tape and I see the plays that he's making, he's a perfect match for Kyle Shanahan. And I've said it before, like when I was there in Washington with Kyle, there were some plays that were made that weren't in accordance with the playbook. But if I had been able to stay healthy, I think that I would have evolved into a player that could make the off-schedule play, but also make the plays from within the pocket. And yeah, Brock Purdy probably isn't as dynamic, and I mean probably with all due respect, outside the pocket as I was, but he is so dynamic within the scheme, and he gives Kyle Shanahan the ability to kind of call a play and not be afraid of what's going to happen.
Well said.
Right? He calls the play. If it's there, he's going to hit it. If it's not there, he's going to create something and make a play for us and not put us in harm's way. No turnovers. And Kyle said it himself. Let me see. His quote was, I thought Brock was unbelievable. It was one of the most impressive seasons I've been around for a football player and a quarterback. He was just a stud through it all. Like, I think that says it all. Brock Purdy is for sure. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And I stand 10 toes down on that. And anyone who's, kind of attaching things to his name that really shouldn't be attached to his name, I think they're just doing that for clicks. And I don't like that, like negativity for clicks. What are you doing that for? A check? Like, I just don't like when guys do that. But that's my opinion on.
All right. That was RG3 talking Brock Purdy on his podcast. Was that McCourty, I believe, on the other side there? But Purdy is as you heard RG3 say, he's more than a game manager. There was no moment at any point watching that Super Bowl when you thought to yourself, this kid can't do this. This is too big for him. And he pointed out something that I think is very true that people don't point out very much, which is that there's no such thing as a good quarterback in the NFL that doesn't have some talent around him. I mean, it's just come on. I mean, nobody's good on their own. You have to have talent around them. So, Mahomes has good talent with Kelsey and Pacheco and Rashee Rice. The 49ers have good talent. Lamar Jackson has Zay Flowers and Isaiah Likely and the other tight end Matthews, and he's got talent. Almost every team. The Rams have Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. They've got talent. So, almost every top quarterback has talent, and that was kind of one of the points that RG made. He also said, hey, look, Brock Purdy was first in QBR, first in touchdown percentage, first in passer rating, first in EPA per play, first in, quarterback rating outside the numbers, quarterback rating against pressure, not against pressure, against the blitz, not against the blitz. He was first in the NFL in tight window throws. So, and then when you lead the NFL in completion percentage or top 5 completion percentage, and you're leading the NFL in yards per attempt, now you're driving the ball further than anybody else down the field and you're completing a higher percentage. So there's no question. Purdy had a great year. And it just was really cool to hear RG3 kind of point that out. And that, he kind of pointed to the tight window throws as kind of the indicator that he was looking for to say that Purdy's the best in the league. He was first in the NFL on QB rating, I believe it was, outside the numbers. So that to me means a lot. One of the things he said was that he's much better than Jimmy Garoppolo. And it's funny to hear people say that because I said that literally the moment that Garoppolo went out of the game and Purdy came in. I'm like, you know what, this guy's better than Garoppolo. But I had seen him in the preseason and I had seen him in training camp. But there's just no doubt. He's more accurate. He's smarter. He's a more explosive mover within the pocket. He essentially has a better arm because he takes shots down the field and connects on them at a higher clip. So anyway, he just, I thought it was cool to hear RG3 say, hey, man, I'm a big fan of Purdy. He's a creator. He's a game changer. He said, I played in that system, so I know that system. And, he mentioned how he manipulates the defense with his eyes. He's dynamic within the scheme, that he's a dynamic mover and explosive within the pocket, that he takes care of the football. It's funny. He mentioned how Shanahan was asked about Purdy after the Super Bowl, and he says, "Man, I think Brock was unbelievable." I think what we're at the point now where it's basically time to say that Brock Purdy is one of the NFL's better quarterbacks. I don't know if he's the best. There's Mahomes, and I don't know if he's number 2 because I love Joe Burrow, and I know that people would love a Josh Allen or Lamar. There's a handful of guys that I get it. You're going to put in front of Purdy, but Brock Purdy, but just lay it all to rest, is a damn good NFL quarterback. He may not be the best in the league, but guess what? In my mind, and I feel very confident saying this, you can win a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy. You absolutely can. So, the Niners get the break of having one more year of Brock Purdy on his rookie deal. So they get one more year to surround him with an incredible cast because they're paying their starting quarterback $840,000. It's a major advantage. They have one more year of that. One more year to have Brock on the rookie deal. And so we'll see what kind of team they can put together. He's a really talented young quarterback. They have a bunch of other needs this year, that they're going to have to fulfill. They're going to have to fill in free agency or the draft, offensive tackle, defensive line. But all the Brock Purdy debate this year, I think what we got the answer on Super Bowl Sunday. And people wanted to say, well, can he win a Super Bowl and this and that? He didn't, right? So until you do, you haven't. And who knows? But to me, the bottom line is watching him in that game. Did you feel like if things broke differently or if they made he wasn't necessarily the reason they lost that game in my mind. And to me, he showed that he's got the moxie, he's got the stuff to be able to thrive in that environment. So to me, that's the biggest positive takeaway. And it was great to hear RG3 kind of come out in support of Purdy. Check for the full interview. We'll do a link in the description to the full interview so you can hear the whole interview with RG3. And please like and subscribe. Helps grow the channel. Thanks to our sponsors for sponsoring the video. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.